Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, Let Me Say TV. A few weeks ago, Outlaw and I made a video highlighting some issues with some of the developments in Jamaica. Now the response to that video was, wow, overwhelming to say the least. Let me just say thank you to everybody who contributed in the comments. Thank you to everybody who imparted some knowledge. Lots of people were speaking about different issues that they faced. Lots of people were giving solutions. Lots of people were just really engaged in the topic of what's happening with some of the developments. So thank you for that. I received so many emails and DMs from people who are facing similar issues. The video, or the response to the video should I say, has highlighted to me that there are so many more people out there facing issues than I thought. Now the developments, I think it was the five developments that I spoke about in the previous video are just developments that have already been highlighted in mainstream media and on social media. The response to the video highlighted to me that there are many more developments out there that are facing issues, and people are, you know, facing their own issues as a result of that. That was purely by those people who reached out to me to let me know, Deezer, I've bought this place. Please watch the ads. A few years ago, and these are the issues that we're facing now. Or I've just bought somewhere, you know, the house hasn't been delivered that I've paid for. All sorts of things, guys. So let me just thank you to everybody again for contributing and for reaching out to me. I'm not an expert, and it's difficult. It's going to be difficult for me to, one, to respond to everybody, but two, to give you guys a solution, because like I said, I'm not the expert, and the things that I spoke about in the previous video were things that are already out there, was just things that were in mainstream media, and I just choose to highlight them. It's very important for me to highlight issues with some developments, because a lot of these developments I have put on my channel, and I spoke about this in the previous video. A lot of these developments, new developments, we highlight them on our channel. Even though we don't work directly with any of the developers, you know, we show you guys what's out there. And so when there are negative associations with these developments, when people have purchased and spent their hard-earned money buying into some of these developments that we have featured on our channel, and things go wrong, it's only right for us to speak about them. And that's why I did that video. But in response to that, I had so many questions about what does due diligence look like, what can we do, especially for those of us who are abroad. And I totally understand, it's a really difficult one. Not only if you're from the diaspora and buying a property abroad, even if you're here and buying into a new development, it can be difficult as well, because at the end of the day, the truth is there are really no guarantees that what you purchase is not going to have issues. And I think for most people, it's a positive story. For most people buying, their experiences, not always of the buying process, but their experiences of the house once they get it is a positive one. And I don't want this to put people off. If you are one of those people who are considering buying a property in Jamaica, don't let this put you off, because for most part it is the minority of people who are facing issues. It's not the majority. Too many, I would say, still, but it is the minority. So I don't want this to put you off, but I do want you to think about how you can be careful and really think about where you're buying into before you part with your cash and before you make any serious decisions, okay? Right. So some advice that I would give. Number one would be to, if you're buying into a development that already has people living in that development. So for example, a lot of these developments are done in phases. Sometimes there are 3 phases to development, 4 phases, and so on. If people are already living in that development, say phase 1 has already been sold, or half of phase 1 has already been sold, and there are residents living in that in those units, speak to the residents, speak to the people who have already purchased. They're going to be the best people to tell you if they're facing any issues. And also you can see if there's a common thread among the people that you speak to. Neighbor at number 1 says there are drainage issues. Neighbor at number 2 says the same thing, and so on. So if there are residents there, speak to those people, because they're going to be in the best position to let you know what's really happening. And that's if there are residents there. I understand if there are no residents there already, it can be a little bit more difficult. But if there are residents there, I would say speak to those people who are already there and find out, if any, what issues there are. All right, number 2, I would say check out the previous developments done by that developer. So if you've seen a new development, you've got the name of the developer, check out some of their previous work. Now, I will say this. A developer can do developments where there are no issues at all. And I know of this case. I'm going to speak about that a little bit later. A developer can do a development where there are no issues at all. Everybody's happy, nothing negative to report. The same developer can build another development and there are a plague of issues. So this is less about the developer and more about the development, okay? But it may just be worth checking out that developer, because if there is a common thread with this developer, that actually every development that they do, or many of the developments that they do, there are issues, then that may be something to think about or consider. Like I said, some developers do great developments that work out great, and that same developer does developments that doesn't always work out great. And of course, there's going to be different factors that decide that and different things to consider. But like I said, it may just be worth checking out the developer to see some of their previous work, and if there is any cause for concern, should I say, or if on the whole everything seems to look good, their units are good or their developments are good, there isn't any complaints or any cause for concern. So check out the developer and the previous developments that they have done. Number 3, I would say if you're thinking about buying into a new development and you're going through the process, read the contract with a fine-tooth comb. Bring your contract to an attorney, to a lawyer, somebody who can read the fine print, somebody who can explain in details maybe some of the things that we don't understand, and so you've got a clear understanding. I would say that your contract, there should be somewhere in your contract that says or covers your home in terms of any issues arising during a period of time, during a specific period of time. Now in the UK, I bought a house many years ago, I think 2003, and it was a new build home at the time, newly built, and it was covered by the NHB, which is the National Housing Building Warranty, and that home was covered for 10 years in case of any damage to that home, because it was a new build. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we have anything like that in Jamaica, but there may be something in that contract that covers you for a period of time. Now in some contracts it may say your home is covered from any issues arising within the first 90 days. So please read your contract, and if that is in there, do address any issues within the first 90 days. Your developer has to do something about it. I think an issue may be where people from the diaspora, people from abroad are maybe purchasing properties, and I get it, you've got work to do, it's not always easy for you to come back and forth, maybe you're not in a position where you can spend 90 days in that property. But it is important that if anything does come up within the first 90 days, especially if it's stated in your contract, that you do report these issues to your developer so that these issues can be remedied. If it goes past that 90 days, there really isn't much you can do, because it states in your contract where you've got 90 days, those 90 days are up, you didn't, address any issues, and now it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to get anything done by that developer, right? So please read your contracts. See if there's anything in the contract that states that your home is covered for a specific period of time should anything happen. That would be number 3. Number 4. Now in the comments to the previous video, there were a few people in the comments who seemed to be very knowledgeable about construction, how construction works, and materials, okay? Somebody in the comments was quite knowledgeable, I think, in terms of Pyramid Point and the materials that they used and how they use those materials, and the fact that the materials used and how they use the materials contributed or is contributing to the issues with some of the units at Pyramid Point. Now again, I'm not a construction person, I don't know anything about materials and how they should be mixed and what should be done, but it may just be worth speaking to your developer. Now listen, I know your developers can tell you anything they want to tell you, I know, but let's just hope that some developers do kind of have some morals and some principles and some transparency, right? We don't want to tarnish every developer with the same brush. But it may just be worth asking your developer or finding out how that home is going to be built. Is it going to be built traditionally with blocks and concrete and you know, cement? Is it going to be built using a cast or molded? What type of materials are going to be used? Maybe questions around drainage. Like I said, I don't know anything about construction, and a lot of us probably don't. So it may be worth getting somebody who does know about these things, asking the questions, maybe getting them to help you to ask the questions to the developer. Like I said, not every developer is going to be forthcoming with the truth, and it's just, at this point, it's kind of just a risk that we take when we are purchasing some of these properties. But we still want to be able to do as much research and due diligence as we can. Okay, that's number 4. Number 5 is a GLC. That's the General Legal Council in Jamaica. They are similar to our Law Society in the UK, and I'm sure in other countries you have something similar. Now, if there are any issues arising with your property, your newly purchased property, and it happens within that contract time, say that 90-day contract period, where if anything happens, they are obliged, they're obliged to sort any issues out as stated in the contract. If that doesn't happen within those 90 days, then you tell your developer that you're going to be taking this to the GLC. They may just move quickly and get it sorted out. If you have issues arising after the 90 day, after the 90 day is gone, I would just say in general, any issues with purchasing a property, whether it's to do with the quality of the build or any issues to do with purchasing a property, maybe you have issues with a lawyer, whatever it is, the GLC is
please watch the ads.
Definitely association to consider speaking to. Get in contact with them, let them know what your grievance is, let them know what the issues are, and get the advice from them. General Legal Counsel. Now, some of the advice that I've given here, I've spoken to some professionals who have kind of pointed me in the right direction, because like I said, I'm not a professional, so I couldn't come on here and give you advice that I know nothing about, right? So I just want to make that clear. Now, I also said in some of the comments, some people were like, oh, well, you know, you've highlighted developments that are not doing so great. Can you highlight some that are doing good, or, you know, maybe have a good reputation? Now, I'm going to talk about a couple of developments, and I can't say to you categorically that these developments are great. I can't, because I don't live in these developments and I don't know. But what I can say is that these developments, I've not heard any negative association or negative, I haven't heard anything negative about these developments, or I haven't heard of any major issues arising. One thing to note with the new build is that even when I bought my home in 2003 as a new build, within about 6 months to a year, I started to notice cracks. And I was told that's just part of the settling period. So when a new home is built, and those out there who know, who can highlight on this issue, because like I said, I'm not an expert, then you please leave your knowledge in the comments. When a new house is built, it takes a while for it to settle, and as a result of that, there could be cracks. But after a while, those cracks stop and no new cracks will form, and that just means that it's settled. And sometimes it might just mean filling out those cracks and doing what you need to do. So that can be quite normal in a new build. Right, so the properties I'm going to talk about are based on the North Coast, and I'm going to do that purely because the properties I spoke about in the previous video were all based on the North Coast as well. The first one is Richmond. Now, yes, this is an older development. I think is it 3 or 4 phases, but it's an older development, still a beautiful development, well sought after. I think it's probably one of the developments that people admire the most, Richmond Estate. Richmond has been there for what, 12 years, maybe a bit longer, and I really haven't heard any issues with Richmond. So the developments I'm going to talk about are those that I've just not heard any issues with. And I'm sure if there were any main issues with Richmond, it would have been brought to the forefront, it would have been brought to the mainstream media already, or even social media. Richmond, I do know that there are quite a few resales in Richmond. You can always find a resale in Richmond. And again, this is a development that it's kind of proven itself already. Lots of people live there, people enjoy it there. Like I said, I haven't heard anything major. The only thing I have heard with Richmond, and I don't think it's in every property, I'm sure somebody correct me if I'm wrong, is that some of the units did have termite issues. The thing with termites is that's something that can be treated. So that's not necessarily something to be too worried about, because you can get that treated. That's the only thing I've heard. Now, if you are an owner of one of the units in Richmond, whether it be the houses or the apartments, leave a comment, please. Let us know. Are you happy with your purchase? Are there any issues? No matter how small they are there minor issues, major issues? Let us know. But Richmond is one of those places that you really don't hear anything negative about. So it may be worth, if you're looking for a development in a gated community, as many of the people in the diaspora are looking for, maybe consider a resale unit in a well-established development where there seem to be minor issues or no issues at all. Richmond. And the next one is Jaxall. Again, another older development. And as you know, Jaxall is comprised of Jaxall Manor, you've got Jaxall Country Club, you've got the Polo Club, and you've also got Marina Village as well. Again, big development on the North Coast. I really haven't heard anything negative about Jaxall. Again, if you're a homeowner, please comment down below and let the people know. Let's share the information. Let the people know that, you know what, I purchased, I'm glad with my investment that I've made. There are really no issues, or there are minor issues, but these minor issues are easily fixable. Or actually, be aware, because there is some issues happening that maybe a lot of people don't know about. Share it with us. But Jaxall is one of those developments, again, that you really don't hear anything about. So maybe consider looking at a resale there. All right, some of the newer developments, Camelot Village. I would say that Camelot Village is probably one of the most sought after developments, especially a year or two ago when they started selling their phases. I used to get calls literally every day from people. Can you tell me if there are any units available at Camelot? I think the attraction with Camelot was the price. I think when I viewed them maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they were selling for about 17.3 million Jamaican dollars, which was a very, very good price point. They're now reselling for about 40 to 45 million. So, boys, any of you guys or anybody out there that bought your Camelot unit for 17 million and are selling it back for 45, boy, kudos to you. But Camelot is another one that I've not heard any negative issues about. Now, earlier in the video, I said it's not so much about the developer, more the development. Now, Camelot is built by Gore, a well-known developer across Jamaica. Gore Properties, I think there's mixed feelings. So Camelot, there doesn't seem to be any issues. And again, if you own one, let us know. Are there issues, or are you happy with your home? There doesn't seem to be any issues at Camelot, not that I've heard. But I have heard of other developments done by Gore where there are issues. I think there's one in Mobay that we're facing some drainage issues. So again, that's why I say sometimes look at the development. You have to look at the development on an individual case rather than developer. But there's still nothing wrong with researching the developer to see if, you know, they've got a history of problems, or actually their units or their developments are quite good. So Camelot, check Camelot out. Lakeview in Runaway, Camelot's in Discovery Bay. Lakeview in Runaway Bay. Lakeview in Discovery Bay, probably one of my favorite developments because of the space that it offers. A lot bigger than a lot of the new developments now, and the space that you get now. You get quarter-acre lots with Lakeview, so you've got a lot of room to expand, and just room at the back and at the side of the property. Again, Lakeview is one of those developments I've not heard anything about. There are quite a few people living there now. They're launching their townhomes. They have 3-bedroom bungalows, which are really big as well. But Lakeview, I've not heard any issues with Lakeview. Again, like I say, if you're a purchaser there, if you're a resident there, let us know. Are there any issues with Lakeview? We've not heard anything. Are you happy with the purchase that you've made? Let's just try and use this platform to share some of our experiences, because I know there are so many people in the diaspora that want to invest in Jamaica. They want to purchase property in Jamaica. But with the horror stories going around, it's scary. I know it's scary. Like I said at the beginning, I don't want anybody to be put off but I just want everybody to go in with their eyes wide open and just to be as knowledgeable as possible. Get all the information you need. And I do know, guys, that like some people have said in the comments, you can do all the research, all the due diligence that you can, and still issues arise. And I think we have to acknowledge that as well. We just have to acknowledge that it can be a gamble. And I just don't even think this is just in Jamaica. It can be a gamble buying a property or purchasing property, because sometimes you just don't know what can go wrong. You know, you're buying it into one of these new developments out here. You've done, like I said, you've done all the research, you've done all the due diligence, you've asked all the right questions, you've done, you know, you've done everything. And you buy it and things can go wrong. And like I say, hopefully that's for the minority. The minority are affected and it's not the majority. But we just have to be realistic and truthful and just acknowledge that things can go wrong even after you've done all that you can. And so there's always an element of risk when purchasing property. But it's important that we bring the information to you. And guys, please, 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 I'm going to ask you, please, if you have purchased any of these properties that have been mentioned, or any property really, please leave it in the comments. Share your experiences. You know, let us know if there are any things that potential buyers should be concerned about. If you've got the good story, if you've got the happy ending story, share that as well. We want to know the positives as well. Please share them. Let people know that, listen, I bought a unit or I bought a house in this development. I'm loving it. You know, the developers were good. The house is good. I'm happy. There were no issues, or if there are minor issues, this is what they are, but they're easily fixable or easy to be salvaged. Then please leave those in the comments. Guys, I do hope that this video has been useful to you, and I will see you in the next video. That is it.